Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So we are from group 10, and in this week we will present about some issues in pragmatic, and this material will be explained by me, Asra Fadila Utafeni, and then Adarani Raulia, and then the last one is Binta Pratama. So the first material will be explained by me, by myself. It's about some issues in pragmatic. So we have learned before about pragmatic. Pragmatic is how we use language to form meaning based on the context. And then next is about conversational implicators. In pragmatics, conversational implicator is an indirect meaning or unstating meaning of a conversation. And then next, and then there is rule by Greece, 1975. It's about purpose maxim for cooperative communication. There are quality is about tell the truth, and quantity is about say as much as, but not more. About give information clearly. Then the last one is relevance. Giving information related to the question, or what is it? Then I will explain about implicator from the quantity maxim. From the quantity maxim. In this maxim, and not less than s. For example, the answer is just what is Malang. Malang is to refer the short answer that show our response where we went for our last vacation. Implicators can derive from the other end of the quantity maxim. Is about avoid giving too much information. And as illustrated, we can see in this conversation. For example, someone asks, can anyone use this part? And the answer is, it is for customer of the supermarkets. The answer shows the response of no. And then there is implicator from manner. According to the maxim of manner, our speech and written trends should also be orderly. For example, we sold our car and bought folks a tandem bicycle. It means cars sell before buying of tandem, or cars sell late to buy of a tandem. Then implicator from relevance, what the speaker is asked, so the respondent should answer it right. For the simple example, the speaker asks when, so the answer is about the time. And we can show it as illustrated as when the speaker asks, have you read Long Walks to Freedom? Then the respondent answer, I found autobiographies fascinating. Maybe someone's think this is not related to the question, but the answer is actually related to the question because the respondent know the book tells about the autobiographies. It means the respondent have read the book, so the respondent can say that the book's about the next, and then the next material will be explained by Adarani.
Okay, I will continue. The next material is about presuppositions and implicit assumptions. A presupposition is something that you assume to be true, especially something which you must assume is true in order to continue with what you are saying or thinking. Presupposition desert background assumptions that are taken for granted when we communicate. These are important in pragmatics because they are essential to the construction of connected discourse. Presupp- Presuppositions are also the obvious starting point for a reader or listener wondering what the author of a messages may regard as relevant. People who know each other can build up quite accurate impressions of what assumptions are shared between them, but it is harder for to be aware of which aspect of the information the other person is thinking about at any point in a communicative interactions. And for communication between strangers, it is even harder to know what is presupposed. Presupposition is also employed more specifically as the term for a particular kind of inference to be set out in these sections. Inference in this class are of interest here because they are an important way for speakers and writers to give hints in the process of making each inference as to what assumption they are currently taking for granted. If having missed out on the first distributions of dessert, you are asked, would you like some more dessert? You cannot really answer with a simple yes, please, or no, thank you. The problem is that more indicates that the questioner presupposes you have already had some, but answer would pick up and preserve part of the questions. Yes, please, or I would like some more and no thank you or I would not like anymore. That means that more is still either pointing to the to the same false presupposition that you have already had some dessert. So in pragmatics, presupposition or presupposition are certain knowledge posed by speakers and speech partners that are the background for a speech as similarity of presupposition will facilitate communications, while differences in presupposition will hinder communications. Done.
Next material I will be explain act. Speak as it is the action that speaker hopes to provoke in his or her audience. In Yule in 1999, stated that speech arts are a study of how the speaker and hearers use language. Betts explained that an action in verbal communication has messages in itself. So the communication is not only about language but also with action. In conclusion, speech art it is the utterance that occurs and X refers to an action. Most speech arts have prepositional and consent. Example of speech arts is listed in H to 28 Austin in 1962, who founded the modern study of speech arts, reckoned that this sort of list could be extended to several hundred. For example, the first statement. For example, I live in Edinburgh for 5 years. And order, for example, pay this bill immediately. And question, for example, where are you from? And prohibition, for example, no right turn. And next, greeting, for example, hello. And next, invitation, for example, help yourself. And next, felicitation, for example, Happy New Year. And the last, apology, for example, I hereby apologize as required by the magistrate. And next, syntax and words that indicate speech acts. The first is statement. Statement is about the declarative sentence contraction. A statement unless factors in the context suggest otherwise, as when that example conveys an offer to locate it. And the next is orders. Orders about the speech acts carried by utterances based on the imperative sentences. So orders are the speech acts carried by utterances and based on imperative sentence. Unless context indicated that it is advice from your best friend, for instance, interrogative construction like the one. And the next is questioning. Questioning is an interrogative construction as their central use, but context can lead to them being interpreted as other speech as reminders. For instance, have you confirmed your flight or request? Could you hold the door open for a moment? That's all from me.
So that's all our material for this week. Sorry for all the all the mistake that we have done. Or anybody, or you want to giving any suggestion or criticism and giving question, you can add down below in this forum. So thank you. And wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Stop record, Bang.